Airplane.
A flying vehicle with wings. For example, the last time that I flew on a commercial airplane, I got COVID.
Airport.
A transportation hub for air travel. For example, it's a must to get to the airport early.
Address.
The specific location, where something is located. For example, if you want to visit to my house, I will send you my address.
Area.
A part of something. For example, what's your favorite restaurant in the downtown area of your city?
Art.
Works produced by human creative skill and imagination. For example, my cousin is always making some kind of art.
Baby.
A very young child, or the youngest child. For example, my aunt just announced she's having a baby.
Back.
The rear surface of the human body from the shoulders to the hips. For example, she has a pain in the small of her back.
Beach.
The area of shore where the water meets the land. For example, some people love going to the beach in the summer.
Beginning.
The start of something. For example, at the beginning of the movie, I liked that main character, then I realized he's the villain.
Book.
A bound set of pages with printed words. For example, I was so interested in this book.
Building.
A physical structure like a house, school, or hospital. For example, we love the design of this building.
Bus.
A large motor vehicle for carrying passengers over land. For example, I was late for my class because I missed the bus.
Business.
A commercial place. For example, I think construction is a difficult business to be in.
Cafe.
A small restaurant that sells light meals and drinks. For example, we decided to open a cafe.
Car.
A four-wheeled vehicle that can carry people. For example, I want to buy a new car.
Career.
A long-term occupation in a particular profession. For example, instead of teaching courier, she decided to start an online business.
Class.
A session for learning. For example, we have a geography class this morning.
Club.
A community or organization focused on a particular interest or activity. For example, my friend and I used to have a book club.
Change.
Something becoming different or altered. For example, she's going to change my hairstyle.
City.
A large, heavily populated town. For example, I have always wanted to live in a city, but it's so crowded.
County.
The division of the state made up of several cities of towns. For example, the county I live in has the best hospitals in the entire state.
Community.
A group of people living in the same place. For example, I love the community that I live in.
Company.
A commercial business. For example, my dad has worked for that company for over 20 years.
Computer.
An electronic device for storing and processing information. For example, I've been using this computer for over 5 years and it still works great.
Day.
A 24-hour period or the time between sunrise and sunset. For example, I haven't eaten all day, I'm starving.
Decade.
A period of 10 years. For example, I can't believe it's been over a decade since I graduated from a college.
Desk.
A piece of furniture with a surface of working or writing. For example, this desk belonged to my father when he was a student.
Doctor.
A qualified professional who practiced medicine. For example, I wasn't feeling well, so I decided to make an appointment to see the doctor.
Education.
The process of receiving or giving instruction and knowledge. For example, you can get a good education from people's experiences.
End.
The final part of something. For example, now this is the end of the lesson.
Engineer.
Someone who designs, builds, or maintains engines, machines, or public works. For example, my dad is an engineer.
Equipment.
Items necessary for a particular purpose. For example, I have so many equipments for the gym.
Event.
A thing that happens usually planned and important. For example, we are planning a fundraising event for a local charity.
Family.
A group of people who are related to each other. For example, I love spending time with my family.
Farm.
An area of land used for growing crops and raising animals. For example, I love visiting my friend who has a farm that any cute animals in it.
Friend.
Someone that you have a mutual bond with. For example, we've been friends since we were 6 years old.
Front.
Something directly ahead forward. For example, she has a stain on the front of her shirt.
Game.
A form of play or sport, usually competitive. For example, did you watch the basketball game last night?
Garage.
A building used for storing vehicle. For example, I park my car in the garage.
Government.
The system by which a nation, state, or community is governed. For example, it's important to be informed about your local government.
Groceries.
Food items that you purchase from a store. For example, I went to the store to buy groceries.
Group.
A number of people or things that have something in common. For example, I and my best friend are making group discussion in the class.
Health.
A person's mental or physical condition. For example, our health is your biggest wealth.
History.
Past events. For example, do you know your family's history?
Hobby.
An activity done in leisure time for pleasure. For example, my favorite hobby is skateboarding.
Home.
A place where you live. For example, I love coming home to my hometown on the weekend.
Hotel.
A place that provides accommodations for tourists. For example, our hotel was in the perfect location.
Hour.
A unit of time, 60 minutes. For example, we waited for an hour for our table at the restaurant.
Idea.
A thought or suggestion. For example, I have an idea to solve our problems.
Information.
Facts or details about something. For example, I need some more information before I make a decision.
Job.
A task, responsibility, or duty, usually paid. For example, my first job was working at the restaurant.
Kid.
A child or young person. For example, our kids are very happy.
Library.
A building where you can borrow books. For example, we love to visit a local library about once a week.
Minute.
A unit of time, 60 seconds. For example, I'll be ready in a minute.
Moment.
A brief period in time. For example, for a moment, I forgot why I walked into the room, then I remembered I needed my keys.
Month.
A 30-day period of time. For example, I have to send money to my sister every month.
Morning.
The period of time between midnight and noon, especially sunrise and noon. For example, I like to get all my work done in the morning, so I have the rest of the day to do whatever I want.
Mouse.
A small rodent or the electronic pointer that works with the computer. For example, there's something wrong with this mouse. It doesn't work at all.
Museum.
A building where objects of importance are exhibited. For example, art museums are very amazing for me.
Night.
The period of darkness, especially between sunset and midnight. For example, don't forget to turn your car's headlight on when you're driving at night.
Nurse.
Someone who is trained to take care of sick or hurt people. For example, she thought about becoming a nurse.
Office.
A space used for professional business. For example, I got nervous when my boss asked me to come into his office.
Parent.
Someone who has a baby or a child. For example, now that I am a parent, I understand my parents a lot better.
Park.
A piece of land kept for recreational use. For example, my brother loves going to our local park.
Party.
A social gathering of invited guests or political group. For example, we will come to the party tomorrow.
Person.
An individual human. For example, if you're the last person in the room, please close the window.
Pet.
An animal that is kept for companionship. For example, my first pet was a cat and I kept him for 3 years.
Place.
A particular location. For example, what is your favorite place on holiday?
Pool.
Swimming area. For example, do you want to come over to my house and hang out by the pool?
Project.
A planned undertaking by an individual or a group. For example, our new project is almost finished.
Program.
A planned series of events or performances. For example, we had so much fun at the summer program that we went to.
Reason.
Explanation for an action or event. For example, you better have a good reason for being late.
Region.
A part or area of something. For example, I would love to visit the wine region of Washington.
Research.
An investigation and discovery. For example, I never buy something big without doing some research first.
Relationship.
The connection between people. For example, they have a good relationship as a couple.
Result.
The outcome of something. For example, if you want good results, you have to work hard.
Room.
A part of a building enclosed with walls, a floor, and a ceiling. For example, she has a nice room.
School.
A place where education takes place. For example, I never really enjoyed the school.
Screen.
The part of an electronic device where images are displayed. For example, I dropped my phone and now the screen is broken.
Season.
The divisions of the year marked by weather patterns. For example, winter is my favorite season because I love the cool and make my body warm in the fireplace.
Side.
A position to the left or right of something. For example, I like to sleep on the left side of the bed.
Sign.
Something used to indicate or convey information. For example, the business sign says that it should be open, but the door is locked.
State.
A nation or territory organized under one government. For example, I live in the state of Nevada.
Store.
Breathe noisily during one's sleep. For example, he began to snore contentedly.
Student.
Someone who is studying at a school. For example, we are student in this school.
Subject.
A person or thing that is being studied. For example, art is always my best subject.
System.
A set of things working together. For example, the typical language learning system in a classroom doesn't work.
Teacher.
Someone who instructs. For example, I am so happy to be your teacher.
Team.
A group of people working together toward a shared goal. For example, I was so happy when my team did a good job.
Thing.
A general way to refer to an object. For example, what is that thing on the bed?
Time.
The progress of existing through present, past, and future. For example, what time is it?
Tools.
Something used to carry out a particular function. For example, my husband is always buying new tools for his project.
Train.
A series of railroad cars moved by an engineer. For example, as the train left the station, I realized I forgot my luggage.
Week.
A period of 7 days. For example, I'm so excited to spend a week at the beach.
Weekend.
Friday evening through Sunday evening usually reserved for fun and relaxation. For example, my family likes to go for a hike on the weekend.
Weekday.
Monday through Friday, typically normal work hours. For example, the school is usually only open on weekdays.
Work.
Activity requiring mental or physical effort to achieve a result. For example, I have so much work to do today.
Vacation.
A time of rest and relaxation, usually spent away from home or traveling. For example, what is your ideal vacation?
Year.
365 days, 52 weeks, 12 months. For example, my wife and I have been married for almost 10 years.